Case of the Veiled Poetess, Part 1. An Elementary Introduction to Chaos and Charm. The year 1888 was a symphony of contradictions in Calcutta. On the grand avenues of Chowringhe, the clip-clop of British officers' polished boots on stone set a rhythm against the distant, devotional clang of a temple bell from the serpentine lanes of the native quarter. The air itself was a thick, complex tapestry woven from the smoke of English factories, the heady perfume of jasmine garlands sold by street vendors, the sharp tang of spices from the Burra Bazaar, and the ancient, brooding scent of the Hooghly River. It was a city in flux, a place of jarring juxtapositions, and for a mind like Aditya Choudhury's, it was a living, breathing puzzle. 19-year-old Aditya existed in a small, self-contained universe carved out of his father's sprawling legal library. While barrister Arijit Choudhury, a man whose logic was as sharp and unyielding as a barrister's quill, saw the world in precedents and statutes, Aditya saw it in clues. His corner of the room was a testament to this obsession. A large corkboard was peppered with newspaper clippings, not of political events, but of peculiar crimes from as far away as London. A chart detailed the different types of soil found in Calcutta, cross-referenced with various boot prints he'd sketched. His prized possessions were a brass magnifying glass, a set of chemical files for rudimentary analysis, and a complete dog-eared collection of Mr. Arthur Conan Doyle stories featuring Sherlock Holmes. His current investigation, the case of the vanishing mango pickle, had reached its zenith. For weeks, his mother's prized sun-dried pickles had been disappearing from a sealed ceramic jar in the pantry. The servants were blamed, but Aditya, applying the principles of deduction, had ruled them out one by one. His gaze had fallen upon Hari, the cook's lanky, perpetually nervous son. "Observation, Hari, is the key," Aditya declared, holding the pickle jar aloft in the dim light of the pantry. The boy flinched. "I observed that the pickles only vanished on Tuesdays and Fridays." "What happens on those days?" "The English tutor arrives. You, my dear Hari, are tasked with bringing him his afternoon tea." Aditya pointed a dramatic finger. "I further observed the smudge on the lid. Not just any smudge. It is Shobha ink, the very same brand used by your tutor for his corrections. You, in your haste to procure a forbidden treat for yourself, failed to wipe your ink-stained fingers. The motive? A simple craving. The opportunity? Your trips to the kitchen. The evidence? Conclusive?" Hari stared wide-eyed before his face crumpled, and he confessed his petty crime. Aditya felt a surge of triumph that was, in its own way, as satisfying as winning a legal case. He was so engrossed in his victory that he didn't hear his father enter the main study. "Aditya." Barrister Choudhury's voice was a low rumble that commanded attention. "Leave the domestic espionage and come here. A client wishes to consult with you." Aditya's heart leaped. His father's cases for him were usually a form of gentle mockery, a way to channel his son's eccentric hobby. Last month, he was locating a neighbor's lost Persian cat. It was asleep on a canopy. But there was a gravity in his father's tone today that was new. The man sitting opposite his father's imposing mahogany desk was Seth Dwarkanath, a merchant whose wealth from textiles and tea was the stuff of legend. He was dressed in immaculate white muslin, a gold chain gleaming at his neck, but his brow was creased with a worry that no amount of money could soothe. "The barrister tells me you possess a unique perspective," Seth said, his voice a low hum of anxiety. "That you see things others miss." Aditya straightened his spine, trying to project an aura of quiet competence. I find that the world is full of obvious things which nobody, by any chance, ever observes. What is the nature of your problem, sir? The problem was his daughter, Leela. She was 18, had received an education far exceeding that of most women of her station, and was of a marriageable age. A suitor had emerged, Ramesh, the son of a business associate. He's a good-looking boy, from a good family, Seth explained, pulling a small ribbon-tied bundle of envelopes from his coat. The scent of sandalwood wafted from them. But he writes these letters, full of poetry and passion. My Leela, she has her head in books. She is impressionable. I need to know if the boy is a poet or a charlatan. I need you to investigate his character, his habits, his associates. And above all, it must be done with the utmost discretion. A whisper of scandal could be ruinous. Aditya's mind reeled. This was it. Not a cat, not a pickle jar, but a genuine case involving human emotion, deception, and the intricate dance of high society. He felt the thrill of the hunt. I will take the case, he said, his voice a little too eager. He accepted the letters with a reverence that made his father raise a skeptical eyebrow. His first meeting with Leela was arranged for the following afternoon. He had prepared a list of questions, a strategy for interrogation. But the moment he was shown onto the sun-dappled veranda of the Seth's Haveli, his carefully laid plans evaporated. The world of logic and deduction momentarily receded, replaced by an overwhelming sense of poetry. She wasn't embroidering or supervising servants. She was seated in a large wicker chair, a book of Keats lying open in her lap, her brow furrowed in concentration. When she looked up at his approach, Aditya felt as if he had miscalculated a crucial variable. Her eyes, the color of rich, dark honey, were not shy or demure. They were alight with a serene intelligence, a playful curiosity that seemed to strip away his detective persona and see the slightly overwhelmed 19-year-old beneath. An almost imperceptible ink smudge, a twin to his own, graced the side of her right index finger. Mr. Chaudhary? Her voice was like the soft chime of a temple bell. The great detective. My father has told me all about you. You've come to protect me from the dangers of florid prose. Aditya felt a blush creep up his neck. Words, Miss Leela, can be far more deceptive than a loaded pistol. They can paint a picture of a man that doesn't exist. Or they can be a window into a soul one is forbidden to see, she retorted, her lips curving into a subtle, knowing smile. She gestured to the chair opposite her. Please sit. Tell me, what do your famous powers of deduction make of me? He was momentarily speechless. He took a breath, forcing his brain to work. Observe. Don't just look. Observe. The Keats, the ink stain, the confident, direct gaze, the slight, almost imperceptible tapping of her finger against the book's cover, a sign of a restless, impatient mind. I deduce, he began, his voice finding its footing, that you are not nearly as impressionable as your father fears. I deduce that you are more interested in the words themselves than the man who sent them. And I deduce, he met her gaze, that you find your father hiring a detective to investigate your suitor to be the most entertaining thing that has happened to you all season. Her smile broke into a full, unrestrained laugh. It was a delightful musical sound that seemed to chase the humidity from the air. Your reputation is well-deserved, Mr. Chaudhary. You are a dangerous man indeed. From that moment, the case of Ramesh the suitor became a secondary objective. Aditya's primary mission, the puzzle that truly captivated him, was to understand the intricate, brilliant mind of Leela. Their conversations over the next few days were a delightful dance of wits. He would speak of logic, and she of feeling, he of evidence, and she of intuition. They played chess, and her strategies were audacious and unpredictable, a stark contrast to his own calculated, cautious moves. She beat him every time. His investigation into Ramesh, meanwhile, was a series of small, comical humiliations. Attempting to follow him in the crowded new market, Aditya, trying to look inconspicuous, tripped over a cage of chickens, causing a feathery explosion and earning the wrath of the vendor. Another time, while trying to listen in on Ramesh's conversation at a tea house, he leaned too far and knocked over a tray of scalding chai, much to the amusement of the other patrons. Despite the mishaps, his deductions proved correct. He discovered that Ramesh was a peacock of a man, vain and intellectually shallow. His days were spent at the Imperial Library, not in deep study, but in a frantic, sweaty search through the latest literary journals. Aditya watched from behind a bookshelf as Ramesh painstakingly copied verses from a poet who wrote under the pseudonym Kavi. Kavi was a sensation. His, or so everyone assumed, poems were a startling blend of traditional Bengali imagery and modern, introspective thought. They spoke of love not as a divine destiny, but as a meeting of minds, a collision of souls. Every intellectual in Calcutta was talking about him, debating his identity, and Ramesh was passing this genius off as his own. Aditya presented his findings to Seth Dwarkanath, who was incandescent with rage at the deception. The courtship was summarily terminated. Aditya's fee was paid, and the case was officially closed. He couldn't resist one last visit to Leela to share the news. He recounted the story of Ramesh's plagiarism, carefully editing out his own more embarrassing blunders. She listened, her expression unreadable. So he was a fraud, a hollow drum making a loud noise. I am not surprised. His words never felt earned. They lacked the soul of the true Kavi. You are an admirer, then? Aditya asked, pleased. I consider Kavi to be the most brilliant mind in India today. The way he structures his verses, his grasp of human emotion, it's breathtaking. Indeed, Leela said, her gaze turning distant, thoughtful. She looked directly at him, a strange intensity in her honey-colored eyes. It is a common failing, Mr. Chaudhary, to assume that a brilliant mind must belong to a man. Aditya laughed. A fair point. But the passion, the worldly experience in those lines, it speaks of a man's journey. Perhaps, she said softly, turning her attention back to the chessboard, or perhaps it speaks of a soul's journey. Your move. He was too blinded by his success, too enchanted by her presence, to see the glaring, beautiful truth she was holding out to him like a chess piece. He saw her only as the muse, the inspiration. He could not yet conceive that she was the poet.